Story number 2 is the sick one.
that isn't even the best one.
I have to prepare for this one. This one's already been in print, but I guess he probably wouldn't mind if I tell. He calls me up one day and he says, okay, pack enough stuff for a week. We're going to Tunica. And this was like an off time to go to Tunica. There was no tournament going on, but they had been playing Pot Limit Omaha out there. And there had been some guys coming from Texas to play that were pretty bad. You'd lose a lot of money. And I said, what do I need to bring? And he said, just bring clothes. I got this one covered. So I get ready, and he picks me up at my house, and we go to the airport. And he goes, okay, and he hands me $50,000, and he says, okay, this, you carry this. This is after 9/11, by the way, so Mohammed Ibrahim's probably not the best name to be flying with.
With flying with a big bunch of cash.
Yeah, anyway, I mean, so we go out there and we check in. It's the night the game starts, so of course he's not going to rest first. He's just going to go jump straight in the game. We go down. I'm sitting behind him. He says, give me 10,000. So now I'm up to the fact that the 50 he gave me is all that we have. They're playing 50 and 100 blinds. He says, give me 10,000. So I give that to him, and he dusts that off in about 15 minutes. And the same for the second 10. And the third 10, he managed to actually run up to about 80, which was what about he quit the night with. So we had like 100. He actually went. He was a good boy. Went to his room, went to sleep. Next day, he did pretty much the same thing, won another 60 maybe. And then Jack Keller was chirping at him to play heads up. And Jack had been going pretty good. Jack had his BR up to about $1 million. And Mohammed said, okay. So they started playing heads up. I think they played the first match for 25,000. They might have played a couple of those. And anyway, in a day and a half, he had Jack broke.
Wow.
So we had about 700,000 at the end of that. And Jack couldn't get any more money, so he quit him. And lo and behold, Action Jackson comes to town. Action Jackson, I don't really know too well, but he was the guy that used to bet 5,000 every roll and take max odds out in Tunica playing craps. So apparently he had a little bit of money. And he wanted to play Mohammed heads up, and it started out. They played a match for 100, and Mohammed spotted him the button, and he beat him like 3 in a row that way. And Action Jackson finally decided that maybe he wasn't the one getting the spot, so he didn't want the button anymore. And Mohammed started laying him like 250 to 200 or something, and they played a few of those, and Mohammed was still winning. And going into the last match, and this was the biggest one, Mohammed had him down to, I don't know, just under 60,000. And a hand came up where Mohammed raised it, and Action Jackson calls, and it comes deuce 4-5. And Action Jackson leads out, bets the pot, Mohammed calls. Comes a jack, bets the pot, Mohammed calls. Comes another jack, and he bets the pot again, which is now like $36,000 bet. And he only has maybe 8 or 10,000 left, and Mohammed sits back, and he goes, man, I know I have the best hand. And I hadn't seen his cards up to this point, but he held his hand up, and I could see that he had 9-10. And he's
deuce 4-5 9-10.
Deuce 4-5 Jack Jack.
Oh, deuce 4-5 Jack Jack.
Mohammed has the 9-10, and he says, I know I have the best hand. And he goes, okay, I call. And Action Jackson taps the table and says, good call. I mean, you could have like King 3 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So Mohammed says, what you got? He makes him turn his hand over. He had the 6-7, so Mohammed turns over the 9-10, and then he wins the rest of his money. And Action Jackson quit him at that point.
Wow.
Decided he couldn't play anymore, which proceeded to put Mohammed on tilt. And at the end of that hand, we had about $1.8 million
from 50,000.
From 50. We'd been there for 4 days. So we were up in the room, and Mohammed had a guest. The phone rang, and it was someone that wouldn't appreciate the guest, and the guest happened to answer.
Oh.
This caused a little bit of a spat. Mohammed now went down to the blackjack table.
Because he's tilted.
Yeah, he was a little bit steaming. He only took like maybe 100 or whatever. He lost that. He came back to the room. He took more. Pretty soon he had taken it all. And he had also taken credit from Jack Binion for about $1,000,001 and lost all that. But right at the end of the thing, he was down to this one stretch of cards. The dealer had just made 21 like every hand, not having blackjack, just 4 cards, whatever, 5 card 21s. And Muhammad was going crazy, and he said, "Okay, you're not going to bust me. I'm going to bust myself." And he went from betting 10,000 a hand at 6 hands or whatever they would let him bet to 500 a hand, and he just hit every single hand until it busted. He had blackjack one hand, he hit it till it busted. One hand he had 18, he hit it. He caught a face card, he said, "Hit it again." The dealer looked at the floorman. The floorman was like, "Yeah, okay, let him hit it."
So he lost the 1.8 plus another 1.1, so he loses almost $3 million playing blackjack.
Yeah, and it gets worse on top of that afterwards. He had borrowed some money from Ted Forrest that he had put in the bank so that he could get credit, and it was like $500,000. So he wasn't supposed to do anything with that. So naturally, he flew home and got it out of the bank and brought it back to Tunica. And he went to a different casino this time because he owed the other ones. So he went to Lyle's casino, and he dumped it all on the table. And by the way, this was like 5 days after we had just done this, and we came with $500,000 in a bag on the plane. That was a fun trip for me. Cavity search, anyone? Yeah. In fact, to this day, every time I fly, I'm still flagged for some reason. I get searched every time, but it's random, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he dumps it all on the table. He starts making his same $10,000 bet across the table, and the people don't really know what to do because they don't know how much money it is. So they bring the counting machine to the table, and they're counting the money right at the table. And he lost all of it before they finished counting. So now he has to go back home, and he has to tell Ted what he did. But that's probably going to go over well, right?
In the bag.
Yeah. So he goes back and tells Ted what he did. Somehow he manages to get a hold of some money again from Ted, which I don't understand how. And he ran that up at the Bellagio, playing heads up against Nick Frankos or somebody, and playing in some ring games. So he had $1,000,004 again, and then he proceeded to dust that off in one night playing blackjack at the Bellagio. So he went through about $6 million in 10 days. And he won all of it playing poker.